dawn breaks over a quiet landscape, casting long, amber shadows across a workspace that feels, for the moment, suspended in a state of perfect equilibrium. In this stillness, there is a sense of order, a rhythmic breathing of an organization that has found its pulse. The air is thick with the quiet hum of servers and the soft rustle of documents, representing a collective that has worked together for so long that they move as one. This is the image of a tranquil lake, its surface a mirror to the sky, undisturbed by even the slightest breeze. In such a setting, a leader stands at the window, looking out over the vast expanse of the horizon, perhaps in a bustling center on the American continent or a quiet office in Europe. There is a profound sense of achievement in this silence, a belief that the team has finally reached that elusive destination where everything simply works. But as any seasoned observer of human nature knows, this stillness is often the precursor to a transformation. To lead is not to maintain a static peace, but to understand that the very act of growth requires a disruption of that peace. The narrative of leadership is often told through the lens of grand strategies and monumental decisions, but its true heart lies in the subtle shifts of human dynamics. A leader understands that a team is not a machine with static parts, but a living, breathing organism that must evolve through distinct stages of maturity. Just as a child grows into the turbulence of adolescence before reaching the stability of adulthood, so too must a group of individuals navigate the choppy waters of change. The introduction of a new element, a fresh perspective, a different personality, or a change in objective, is like a stone thrown into that glass-like lake. The ripples are inevitable. They spread from the point of impact, challenging the existing order and forcing every molecule of water to readjust. This initial moment of impact is where the true story of leadership begins, not in the avoidance of the ripple, but in the wisdom to know why the stone was thrown and how to guide the waves that follow. There is a certain beauty in this disruption, though it rarely feels beautiful to those caught in the swell. It is the sound of progress, the friction of new ideas rubbing against old habits. As the leader watches the first ripples reach the shore, a realization settles in. The quiet lake was peaceful, but it was also stagnant. To move forward, the team must be willing to lose its temporary balance to find a more profound, resilient equilibrium. This journey from the familiar to the unknown is the ultimate test of a guide. It requires a delicate hand and a keen eye, for the path toward peak performance is paved with occasional storms. The question that hangs in the air, as the first signs of movement stir within the group, is not whether the storm can be avoided, but whether the leader is prepared to navigate it. The story of every great achievement is, at its core, a story of how a group of people learned to weather these moments together, transforming from a collection of strangers into a unified force of nature. And so, as the first light of a new day fills the room, the focus shifts from the serenity of the past to the potential energy of the coming change, setting the stage for a narrative of growth, conflict, and eventual triumph. To understand the complexity of a team, one must look beyond the immediate tasks and deadlines and see the broader landscape in which these human connections are forged. In the sprawling corporate hubs of the American continent or the historic institutional centers of England, the environment often dictates the pace, but the fundamental human reactions remain universal. The world outside the office is one of constant flux. Markets shift, technologies evolve, and social structures transform with dizzying speed. Within this macrocosm, the small ecosystem of a team serves as a sanctuary and a laboratory. It is here that the broader tensions of the world are mirrored and managed. A leader must be more than a manager of tasks. They must be a cartographer of human emotion and a navigator of social currents. The context of any team is built upon layers of history, previous successes, and lingering failures. When a new person enters this space, they do not just bring their skills. They bring their entire history, their mindset, and their unique way of seeing the world. This infusion of new blood is essential for survival in a competitive landscape, yet it is naturally met with resistance. The existing members of the team have worked hard to establish their predictable patterns and comfortable alliances. They have created a shared language and a mutual understanding of how things are done. But the world does not reward comfort for long. The pressure to innovate, to grow, and to overcome the complexities of modern industry requires a constant reevaluation of who the team is and where it is going. This creates a fascinating tension, the human need for stability clashing with the organizational necessity for change. This tension is the foundation upon which the narrative of leadership is built. It is a landscape where governments struggle to lead their own communities, where sports teams cycle through coaches in search of an elusive consistency, and where even the most sacred institutions find themselves embroiled in scandals born of weak guidance. The need for strong, perceptive leadership is visible everywhere, from the smallest local startup to the largest multinational group. The stakes are high because the cost of failure is not just financial. It is a cost measured in human morale, wasted potential, and fractured relationships. In this broader context, the act of leading a team through its developmental stages is a profound responsibility. It is about creating an environment where the adolescence of a group, the period of rebellion and questioning, is not seen as a disaster, but as a necessary phase of growth. The leader must ground the team in a shared purpose that transcends the individual egos involved. They must provide the temporal and geographical anchors that allow the team to feel secure even as the ground shifts beneath them. As the narrative expands, it becomes clear that the central question is one of alignment. How does a leader take a diverse group of individuals, each with their own motivations and fears, and guide them toward a horizon they cannot yet see? The answer lies in the understanding of the stages of development, a conceptual framework that has stood the test of time since the mid-20th century. By viewing the team through this lens, the leader can anticipate the coming storms and prepare the vessel for the journey ahead. The environment is set, the players are in position, and the underlying currents of change are beginning to pull the team away from the shore of the familiar, moving them toward a destination that will demand everything they have to give. The characters in this unfolding drama are not just names on an organizational chart. They are the embodiments of different philosophies and human tendencies. At the center stands the leader, a figure who must balance the roles of visionary, mediator, and disciplinarian. This individual often enters a room carrying the weight of high expectations, both their own and those of the people they are meant to guide. Beside them are the team members, the seasoned veteran who views any change with a skeptical eye, the ambitious newcomer eager to make their mark, and the steady performers who keep the wheels turning. The conflict begins not with an explosion, but with a subtle misalignment of these perspectives. In the initial stage of formation, there is a polite, almost cautious atmosphere. It is the infancy of the group, where everyone is on their best behavior, hiding their true intentions behind a mask of professional courtesy. In this phase, the goals are often vague and the relationships are superficial. The tension lies beneath the surface, like a dormant volcano. The leader observes this, knowing that the current harmony is fragile and unearned. The real challenge arises when the objectives are challenged, or when a new member is introduced into the mix. This introduction acts as a catalyst, stripping away the masks and forcing the hidden conflicts to the surface. It is here that the individualist personality often clashes with the team-oriented mindset. The individualist, though often talented, prioritizes their own trajectory over the collective success, creating a friction that can slow the entire group. The leader's task is to identify these dynamics early, choosing members not just for their technical prowess, but for their mindset and attitude. The introduction of a new goal or a change in the team's structure acts as a signal that the infancy of the group is ending. The polite nods and agreeable silences are replaced by the first signs of questioning. Why are we doing it this way? Who is in charge of this specific task? These questions are the first sparks of the coming, storming phase. The conflict is not necessarily a sign of failure. It is a sign of engagement. It shows that the team members are beginning to care enough about the outcome to fight for their vision of it. However, if this tension is not managed with grace, it can quickly devolve into a toxic cycle of blame and resentment. The narrative begins to move forward as the leader takes the first steps to address these burgeoning conflicts. Instead of suppressing the disagreement, the wise leader creates a space where it can be channeled constructively. They recognize that the team is entering its adolescent phase, a time of rebellion, boundary testing, and the search for identity. This is the moment where the leadership style is truly tested. Will the leader react with authoritarian rigidity, or with the patience of a mentor who understands that growth is often messy? The stakes are introduced. The productivity of the team, the quality of their work, and their very survival as a unit depend on how this transition is handled. As the initial politeness fades and the true personalities of the group begin to emerge, the stage is set for a deeper exploration of what it means to be a part of something larger than oneself. The story is no longer just about a group of people working in the same room. It is about the birth of a collective identity, forged in the heat of early friction. As the narrative gains momentum, the subtle ripples on the lake transform into more significant waves. The storming stage is no longer a distant possibility. It has arrived with a palpable intensity. This is the phase where the comfort of the forming stage is completely discarded, and the team members begin to push against the boundaries set by the leader and each other. In this environment, the stakes are heightened because the mask of professionalism has slipped, revealing the raw ambitions and fears of the individuals. Friction arises from every corner. Perhaps it is a disagreement over the allocation of a budget in a project based in Latin America, or a conflict over the creative direction of a campaign in England. These are not just technical disputes. They are battles for influence and autonomy. The tension is thick, and the atmosphere in the workspace becomes charged with a sense of unresolved competition. Members may begin to challenge the leader's authority, questioning the validity of the goals or the efficiency of the processes. This is the rebellious adolescence of the team, where the lack of established norms leads to a chaotic scramble for position. If a leader is not careful, this period can lead to blame shifting, a destructive behavior where individuals seek to protect their own reputations by highlighting the failures of others. This creates a culture of fear and defensiveness that can paralyze even the most talented group. The narrative deepens as these early conflicts begin to affect the team's output. Deadlines are missed, the quality of work fluctuates, and the once promising synergy of the group seems to have vanished. The leader faces a critical choice: to let the storm rage until it exhausts itself, or to step into the center of the gale and provide a steadying hand. This is the moment where the emotional and conceptual stakes are raised to their peak. The team is at a crossroads. One path leads to fragmentation, where the group dissolves into a collection of disgruntled individuals who no longer believe in the mission. The other path leads through the storm toward a new level of understanding and collaboration. The leader's role in this phase is to act as a lightning rod, absorbing the tension and grounding it in reality. They must provide the extra communication needed to ensure that everyone feels heard, even if their ideas are not ultimately adopted. This requires a level of emotional intelligence that goes beyond simple management. It involves recognizing the underlying causes of the friction. Is it a fear of inadequacy, a lack of clarity, or a clash of fundamental values? As the stakes rise, the leader begins to implement more rigorous structures, not to stifle the team, but to provide them with the safety of clear expectations. They might introduce more frequent check-ins or more transparent reporting systems, making it harder for blame to be shifted and easier for successes to be shared. The momentum of the story is now driven by the effort to move out of the storm. Every interaction, every feedback session, and every shared challenge becomes a brick in the foundation of the norming stage. The tension is no longer just a source of stress. It is the fuel for the team's evolution. The story propels toward the next phase, where the chaos must be distilled into order, and the individual voices must find a way to harmonize without losing their unique resonance. The journey into the deeper layers of team development requires a transition from external conflict to internal reflection. As the leader guides the team through the turbulence, the narrative begins to focus on the emotional texture of the group's life. It is not enough to simply manage tasks. The leader must curate the culture. This is an era of exploration where the team begins to define its own rules of the game. These rules are not just formal policies, but the unspoken agreements that dictate how people treat each other during a crisis, how they celebrate a win, and how they handle a mistake. In this phase, the leader spends more time listening than speaking. They observe the small gestures, the way a colleague helps another with a difficult task without being asked, or the way a tense silence is broken by a well-timed word of encouragement. These are the threads that weave the social fabric of the team. The leader recognizes that trust is not something that can be demanded. It must be grown in the fertile soil of consistent behavior and shared vulnerability. In the American continent or in Europe, the cultural nuances may vary, but the fundamental need for trust remains constant. The leader begins to invest in activities that promote this bonding, not just superficial social events, but meaningful interactions that allow team members to see each other as human beings. This might involve individual feedback sessions where the leader not only gives guidance but also asks for it, signaling that they too are on a path of growth. This creates a reciprocal flow of information that reduces the opacity of the hierarchy. The narrative reflects this deepening connection through the shifting tone of the interactions. The harshness of the storming phase begins to soften into a more reflective, albeit still cautious, collaboration. The stakes are no longer about individual survival, but about the collective's ability to achieve something that no single person could do alone. The thematic symbol of the lake returns, but now the water is no longer just still. It is deep. There is a sense of hidden strength beneath the surface. The leader works to minimize the stress and overwork that often accompany major changes by being extra communicative, ensuring that every shift in objective is understood and accepted. This is a delicate balance of pacing. If the leader moves too fast, they risk leaving people behind. If they move too slow, they risk losing momentum. This phase of development is characterized by a growing transparency and a shared sense of responsibility. People begin to hold themselves and each other accountable, not out of fear, but out of a desire to not let the team down. A subtle shift in tone occurs as the team begins to realize that their differences are actually their greatest assets. The individualist begins to see the value in collaboration, and the team players find their voices strengthened by the diversity of thought around them. The realization begins to settle in. The team is no longer just a group of people working for the same company. They are a unit with a shared destiny. This beat of realization marks the end of the middle phase of the journey, where the focus shifts from surviving the storm to mastering the art of navigation. The team is now poised for the next challenge, ready to test their newfound cohesion against the realities of a demanding world. Just as the team begins to find its rhythm, a new complication arises, testing the limits of their newly forged unity. This is the phase where the progress of the norming stage is challenged by a new reality, perhaps a sudden shift in the market, a change in senior leadership above them, or the departure of a key member. This complication is a reminder that stability is always temporary, and that a high-performing team must be built for resilience, not just for calm weather. This new layer of conflict forces the team to question the rules and norms they have just established. Are these rules strong enough to withstand a real crisis? The tension re-emerges, but this time it is different. It is no longer the raw, ego-driven conflict of the storming stage. It is a conceptual struggle over how to adapt to a changing world. The leader must now navigate this contradiction, the need for consistency versus the necessity of flexibility. In this stage, the team is pushed further than they ever thought possible. The leader, too, is tested. They must resist the urge to revert to an authoritarian style in the face of uncertainty. Instead, they must remain the steady hand that encourages the team to find their own solutions. This is where the depth of the team's development is truly revealed. Will they crumble under the pressure and return to the stage of blame shifting? Or will they use their established trust to innovate their way out of the problem? The narrative captures this struggle through the lens of a team being pushed to its peak. The stakes are at an all-time high, as the very existence of the team's high-performance culture is at risk. The unresolved tension of this moment propels the narrative forward. There is a sense of a looming deadline or a critical decision that cannot be postponed. The leader must facilitate a dialogue that is both honest and demanding. This is the time for healthy conflict, where ideas are debated vigorously without damaging the relationships between the participants. In the home region or across the globe, the ability to have these difficult conversations is what separates a good team from a great one. The leader's role is to ensure that the rules of conduct, like being well prepared for meetings and helping colleagues with speed and emphasis, are maintained even under extreme stress. They must remind the team that their strength lies in their ability to work together, not just in their individual talents. As the complication deepens, the team begins to realize that the storm they are facing is not something to be survived, but something to be mastered. The narrative builds a sense of mounting pressure, where every decision carries the weight of the team's future. The unresolved tension of the current situation acts as a catalyst for the final transformation. The team is now standing at the edge of greatness, but to reach it, they must first overcome the doubts and fears that this new challenge has unearthed. The story moves toward its peak, where the true character of the leader and the team will be revealed in the heat of the ultimate trial. The approach to the climax is marked by a palpable increase in intensity. Every action, every word spoken in the hallway, and every decision made in the conference room carries an immense weight. The narrative focus narrows as the team moves closer to the turning point, the moment where their collective effort will either result in a monumental success or a devastating failure. The leader can feel the mounting pressure, a physical sensation that mirrors the high stakes of the situation. They have spent months, perhaps years, building this team, guiding them through the infancy of formation and the rebellion of the storming phase. Now all of that preparation is being put to the test. The stakes are no longer just professional, they have become deeply personal. The team members have invested their time, their passion, and their trust in this collective mission, and the fear of letting each other down is a powerful motivator. In this high-stakes environment, the leader must maintain a laser-like focus on the objective while also remaining attuned to the emotional state of the group. The pacing of the story accelerates, reflecting the urgency of the moment. There is no longer time for long reflections or slow adjustments. Decisions must be made with clarity and confidence. The leader emphasizes the weight of what is about to happen, ensuring that everyone understands the significance of their contribution. This is the moment of inevitability, where the momentum of the past stages has created a force that can no longer be stopped. The narrative builds a sense of anticipation, like the tightening of a string on a bow. The team is ready to be released toward their goal, but they are also aware of the risks involved. In the American continent or in Latin America, the pressure of competition and the need for excellence create a backdrop that highlights the drama of this moment. The leader's role is to provide the final piece of the puzzle, the vision that ties everything together and gives the team the courage to take the final step. They must remind the team of how far they have come, from the awkward silences of their first meeting to the coordinated power they now possess. The sense of pressure is balanced by a sense of purpose. The team knows that they are standing on the threshold of something extraordinary. The narrative captures this duality, the anxiety of the unknown and the excitement of the potential. As the story moves toward the climax, the focus shifts to the individual members of the team, showing how each one has grown and changed. The individualist is now a collaborator. The skeptic is now a believer. This transformation is the true success of the leader, but it remains to be seen if it will be enough to carry them through the final challenge. The approach to the turning point is a period of intense focus and quiet determination, where the noise of the world fades away, leaving only the team and the task at hand. The pressure is at its peak, and the inevitability of the coming moment hangs in the air, setting the stage for the revelation that will redefine everything. The climax of the story occurs not with a loud explosion, but with a moment of profound clarity and decisive action. It is the performing stage in its most pure and intense form. Faced with the ultimate challenge, perhaps a high-stakes presentation in a boardroom in England or a critical operational decision in Latin America, the team moves with a synchronicity that is almost supernatural. There is no longer any need for instructions or reminders. Every member knows their role, anticipates the needs of their colleagues, and acts with a total commitment to the shared goal. The leader watches as the team they have nurtured takes full responsibility for the outcome. In this moment, the hierarchy dissolves into a collective of peers, each contributing their unique excellence to the whole. The revelation is that the storms were not obstacles to this success. They were the very things that made it possible. The friction of the past has polished the team into a diamond, capable of withstanding any pressure. The intensity of the sequence is captured in the flow of information and the speed of execution. A crisis arises during the task, an unexpected problem that could derail everything. But instead of panic, there is a calm, coordinated response. The team members communicate with a transparency and honesty that allows the problem to be solved in seconds rather than hours. This is the peak of human collaboration, a moment where the collective becomes something more than the sum of its parts. The transformation is complete. The leader realizes that their greatest achievement is not the successful completion of the task, but the creation of this extraordinary group of people. The turning point is the realization that leadership is not about being at the front, but about creating a space where others can lead. This moment of transition into clarity and consequence is profound. The weight of the world seems to lift, replaced by a sense of effortless power. The consequences of this success are immediate and far-reaching. It is not just about the numbers or the prestige. It is about the profound shift in the self-identity of every person involved. They are no longer the people they were at the beginning of the journey. They have been tested by the fire and have emerged stronger, more resilient, and more connected to one another. The climax ends with a sense of quiet triumph, a moment of stillness that follows the intense activity of the peak. The team stands together, looking at what they have accomplished, and in that silence they find a new kind of peace. It is the peace of the high performer, the knowledge that they can face whatever comes next because they have already faced the storm and won. This resolution changes the trajectory of the story, moving it away from the struggle for survival toward a new era of possibility and growth. The leader's journey has reached its destination, but as the first waves of consequence begin to settle, it becomes clear that this is not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter in their collective life. The immediate aftermath of the climax is a period of deep, resonant quiet. The intense energy of the high-performance peak begins to dissipate, leaving behind a sense of exhaustion mixed with profound satisfaction. In the workspace, whether it be in a bustling city in the American continent or a quiet town in Europe, the atmosphere has shifted. The air is no longer charged with tension. It is filled with a sense of accomplishment and mutual respect. The first wave of consequences is felt in the way the team members look at one another. There is a new level of trust that doesn't need to be spoken, a shared understanding born from having been through the trenches together. The situational shift is dramatic. Problems that once seemed insurmountable are now viewed as manageable challenges. The leader takes a step back, allowing the weight of the events to settle. They observe the team as they decompress, noticing the small interactions that signal the shift from performing to a state of reflective recovery. This is a crucial moment for the team's long-term health. The leader knows that the intensity of the performing stage cannot be sustained indefinitely. There must be a period of rest and reflection to integrate the lessons learned. The narrative captures this raw emotional shift, highlighting the sense of pride and the newfound confidence that permeates the group. They have seen what they are capable of, and that knowledge has changed them forever. The immediate aftermath is also a time for feedback, not the critical, corrective feedback of the storming phase, but a celebratory and constructive dialogue about how they achieved their success. The leader ensures that every individual's contribution is recognized, reinforcing the idea that the team's power comes from its diversity. They also allow the team to give feedback on their own leadership, fostering a culture of open communication that will prevent future storms from becoming destructive. This period of space allows the team to breathe, to process the magnitude of their achievement, and to reconnect as human beings. The pace of the story slows, giving the listener a chance to absorb the weight of the transformation. The leader realizes that their role is now to protect this high-performing culture, to ensure that the rules and norms they have established are not forgotten in the glow of victory. The aftermath is not just about looking back. It is about grounding the team in their new reality. They have reached a new plateau of performance, and the goal now is to make this the new normal. As the first day after the climax comes to a close, there is a sense of peaceful resolution. The team has navigated the occasional storms and has found the calm water on the other side. But this calm is different from the stillness of the beginning. It is the calm of a vessel that has been tested and found to be seaworthy, ready for whatever adventures the horizon may hold. As the immediate excitement fades, the deeper consequences of the team's journey begin to reveal themselves. This is the phase of long-term resolution, where the lessons learned in the heat of conflict become part of the team's permanent DNA. The transformation is visible in the internal and external shifts that occur within the group. Internally, individuals have undergone a profound change in their mindset. The person who was once hesitant to share their ideas now speaks with confidence, knowing their voice is valued. The person who once sought to shift blame now takes ownership of their mistakes, understanding that accountability is the cornerstone of trust. These internal shifts create a ripple effect that transforms the team's external performance. They are now seen as a model of excellence within their broader organization, whether in the American continent or in England. Other teams look to them for guidance, and their success becomes a catalyst for change in the wider culture. The leader focuses on sustaining this transformation, creating a natural transition toward a long-term stability. This involves institutionalizing the practices that led to their success. The regular feedback loops, the investment in social bonding, and the commitment to clear rules of conduct. The narrative highlights the lesson that leadership is a continuous process of cultivation. A leader must always be on the lookout for the next stone that might be thrown into the lake, ready to guide the team through the next formation or storming phase. The resolution is not a final destination, but a state of being. The team has learned how to grow, and that ability to evolve is their greatest asset. The emotional settling of this phase is characterized by a sense of quiet pride and a deep connection between the members. They have become a family of choice, a group of people who are bound together by a shared history of struggle and triumph. The leader's role is to maintain this social fabric, ensuring that new members are integrated with care and that the team's values are passed on. The story creates a seamless flow toward closure, showing how the individual events of the past stages have built toward this moment of lasting change. The resolution is a testament to the power of deliberate leadership and the resilience of the human spirit. It is a reminder that even the most difficult storms can be the catalyst for the greatest growth. As the team moves forward into their next project, they do so with a sense of clarity and purpose that was unimaginable at the beginning of their journey. The narrative captures the essence of this transformation, leaving the listener with a profound sense of the possibility that exists within every group of people, provided they have the right guide. The story of the team is a story of human potential, realized through the art of leadership and the courage to face the storms together. Reflecting on the journey of the team, the broader thematic and philosophical significance of the stages of development becomes clear. This narrative has been more than just a story of a group of people working together. It has been an exploration of the human condition in a collective environment. The threads of the story, the initial uncertainty, the inevitable conflict, the establishment of trust, and the peak of performance, are woven together into a coherent reflection on growth. The central lesson is that conflict is not an enemy to be avoided, but a necessary part of the process of becoming. Without the storming phase, a team can never reach the level of transparency and trust required for performing. The leader's role is to act as the steward of this process, providing the structure and the emotional support needed for the team to navigate each stage. This philosophy of leadership transcends any specific geographical location or industry. Whether in the American continent or in Europe, the fundamental dynamics of human interaction remain the same. A leader who understands these stages possesses a powerful tool for building high-performing teams in any context. The synthesis of the narrative highlights the importance of mindset, both the leaders and the teams. A mindset focused on collaboration, accountability, and continuous learning is what allows a group to weather the storms and reach the calm waters on the other side. The story also illuminates the significance of the social fabric of a team. The time invested in building trust and fostering open communication is never wasted. It is the foundation upon which all technical success is built. The leader's success is measured not by the tasks completed, but by the leaders they have created within their team. By giving feedback, encouraging autonomy, and modeling the team's values, the leader prepares the next generation of guides. The narrative ends with a resonant idea. That leadership is an act of service. It is the service of guiding a group through their own evolution, helping them to discover their collective power and to achieve their shared potential. This reflection prepares the listener for the final message of the story, a closing insight that summarizes the essence of successful leadership. The journey of the team is a microcosm of the journey of life, a series of stages that challenge us, shape us, and ultimately allow us to reach our highest potential. The meaning of the chapter's journey is found in the realization that every storm is an opportunity for a new kind of peace, and every conflict is a chance for a deeper connection. The story of the team is a testament to the enduring power of human collaboration and the transformative impact of a leader who knows how to navigate the waves. The story concludes with a final, reflective gaze upon the tranquil lake that was the starting point of our journey. But the lake is no longer the same. Its stillness now carries a different weight, a depth of experience, and a resilience that was absent before the first stone was thrown. The narrative has come full circle, but the team has moved forward in a way that is permanent and profound. The closing insight is a simple but powerful truth. Leadership is not the absence of storms, but the mastery of them. A successful leader is one who understands that every team is a living organism, destined to go through stages of infancy, rebellion, and maturity. To lead is to embrace this process, to walk alongside the group through the chaos of the storming phase, and to help them find the clarity of the performing stage. The essence of this journey is captured in the realization that the greatest successes are forged in the heat of conflict and the crucible of shared challenge. The lesson for anyone in a position of guidance, whether in a large corporation on the American continent or a local community group in Europe, is to be patient with the process of growth. Do not fear the ripples on the water. They are the signs of progress. Invest in the human connections, build the culture of trust, and set the rules of conduct that will sustain the team when the winds pick up. The emotional resonance of the final moments is one of clarity and contemplation. The leader, looking out over their team, knows that they have done more than just achieve a goal. They have built a legacy of resilience and collaboration. The story leaves the listener with a resonant message that the potential for greatness exists in every group, waiting for a leader with the wisdom to recognize the stages of growth and the courage to navigate them. This is the heart of leadership, the ability to take a collection of individuals and guide them toward becoming a unified force, capable of achieving the extraordinary. The final reflection is one of hope and inspiration, a reminder that every challenge is an invitation to grow, and every storm is a preparation for a more profound and lasting peace. The narrative ends with a sense of completion, a closing of the circle that leaves the listener with a deep understanding of what it means to lead with excellence, empathy, and foresight. The journey is over, but the lessons remain, etched into the social fabric of the team and the heart of the leader, ready to guide them through the many seasons yet to come.